My name is Fabie and I will be writing my first ever book in November. You might have heard of NaNoWriMo before, and if not, it is an abbreviation for the National Novel Writing Month that happens every November and nowadays counts more than 500,000 participants each year. And there's actually a non-profit organization behind it nowadays, and you can also check out the website that I've linked in your bio. You can make a profile and officially then take part in the challenge. But where does this challenge originate? This challenge first was started among writing colleagues who wanted to challenge themselves to leave their critical editor view on the first draft behind and just start writing. In 30 days, they wanted to write 50,000 words. So you might be wondering why this video then is labeled as Preptober and not as NaNoWriMo. Well, first of all, it's not November yet. And second of all, Preptober obviously refers to October. And November, following a quote by Chris Bradley, who is the founder of the NaNoWriMo, says, write first and ask question later. Meaning that November is only there for you to really just write, no matter what your critical editor voice is saying in your head. It is just to get up and get in the habit of writing. That means if you take the challenge by heart, that you are only allowed to start your first word of your first page in your book on November the 1st. But obviously you can prep first. So all the things that you need to sort out before you actually start writing your book, like character development or world builder, everything like playlists, like a Pinterest board that you need for inspiration, and even your outline, you can do that before. So therefore it's called Preptober, because most of the people do these things in October, or they even take the month ahead of October, well, September, to even then start planning the novel they want to write in November. So to finally end this extended intro, I wanted to show you in this video what I did so far, how far I've come in my preparations, because it's already the middle of October, to start writing my first book in November. So yeah, let's get into it. First, I'm going to start off with some questions that I found on Sophie's Corner, which is an online blog. I'm also gonna link her page and her questions, because these are more than I'm going to answer in this video to keep it a little bit shorter. And yeah, maybe it can also help you to find inspiration or even find out where your story or your character development is lacking, maybe in a sense. But let's get into the question. So what's the genre? Well, the genre will be romance, because I just absolutely love romance, and I heard the tip somewhere that you need to write the genre that you actually really enjoy reading, because if you're gonna write a book, you have to be excited about the book. If you're not excited about the book, your readers probably will not be excited about the book as well. So that is where I'm going, that is where I'm heading, and it is actually a closed door romance. So if you also like me and you rather enjoy a closed door romance to an open door romance, then hey, let's be friends and let's maybe also be writing buddies. So maybe you can leave a comment down there and we can hold ourselves accountable. So let's go on to the next question, which is to describe your main character in 3 words, which I would say that my main character is hardworking, she's selfless, and maybe even self-sacrificing in a sense. Maybe I also need to do a little bit more character developing, but I also find it hard with real people in real life to just break them down into 3 words. But yeah, that's what I can say to my main character. And then the next question would be describe your villain without spoiling in 3 words. But the problem here really lies that we do not really have a villain. I think maybe it could be childhood trauma. We can call it childhood trauma. That's the villain of the book. Something familiar, yeah. So then the next question is, what is my goal? Is my goal the original 50,000 words, 100,000 words? I did not even know before this question was also there are people who challenge themselves to write 100,000 words in 30 days, but my goal will be the original 50,000, because if I can do that, I will be proud of myself. I do not want to make it any harder than it already is, and I think Actually, I don't know if that is an unpopular opinion, but I think if it's a romance book and if it leans toward the young adult section, I think that it is not necessary for this type of book to be more than 400 pages. Let me know if that's an unpopular opinion, but yeah. So let's go over the programs that I will be using and what I did so far. So the two programs that I'm using is Notion, because I have my whole life planned in Notion. I can access Notion from anywhere, from a phone, from a tablet, from, well, obviously also my computer. So that's what we're doing. There's my timeline. But for the actual writing process, I wanted to use Word by Microsoft because that is just what I'm used to. I know this system. I do not have to then find out how everything works. But also some other people recommended to use Google Docs because Google Docs is also accessible online. So if you forget USB or your hard drive, wherever you're storing all the things around your story, then you can still access it and continue writing your story. So I will now show you around in my Notion, and for that we're gonna switch the camera position. So, well, this is just my first page, and if you click on the hobby, then you can find books to write, which I have 3 drafts, like loosely started, the outline and character developing and everything. But this is the book I want to write for this November because it's a standalone romance book, and I hope that, in my mind, yeah, romance books are kind of the easiest book to write because you do not have to do a lot of world development. I mean, if it plays like in real life surroundings and not in a fantasy world, because that is what I'm working with my 2 other books. But yeah, here you can see the countdown. That is totally wrong countdown. I don't know how that happened. I have to redo that after it, but it should say the amount of days that I have left until it's December 1st, because obviously on November 13th I'm going to write. So yeah, but here you can see in gallery view the characters. I only have a picture of my main character so far and not of the love interest yet, but I will look over Pinterest. I also do not have a Pinterest board yet because I will not actually be doing a Pinterest board because I like to put it all into my Notion. And if you click on here, well, yeah, a small picture of my main character, and then you have some information about it. This is all in German because I'm going to write the book in my mother tongue, which is German. And yeah, I hope this will be easier than writing in English because I do not have to think a lot about grammar mistakes because I do believe my English is not that bad, but it is, however, a second language. And yeah, so we have some facts: her age, where she's from, where she's living, what she looks like, and then I also have written down like a quick synopsis of her like backstory, where she's from, what kind of struggle she has, and then I just started writing what really happens, how she meets the person, how they then develop their relationship. So I also added this one and her internal feelings towards it. The same I want to do with the love interest, obviously, but I have not written that down yet. I also really think that when I wrote her synopsis and her backstory, I rather wrote like about their relationship building up rather than like her part of the relationship, so it's all in her bio. But yeah, we can deal with that later, I think. So I also wrote something about his character to then remind myself how he is, how he will typically behave in some situations. We then have an empty 3rd page for, well, probably her best friend coming later. And then we have the timeline. So this timeline I have to completely redo again because the timeline that I have in my head, like a lot of ideas changed within like the last week, and now I think there's way more in-depth backstory going on than I've written down here in the timeline, and also some characters changed. But yeah, that's basically my timeline. It is not split into chapters, but rather into what is happening at this and that stage, what is the main incident in this scene. So it's rather loosely split up into scenes. Yeah, whatever fits you best, you do you. I also have like my fantasy book is split up into chapters before that, and then you can click on it and open it. You can do that here as well. Well, let me go to the top. And then I actually also started writing like the outline of the scene, and this is just like a rough explanation, the title of it, what is going on in the scene, and then I'm gonna write the outline here. And later, which I have not started because I'm going to start on November 1st, I'm going to write my story in Word. But if you would like to have, a tutorial on Notion, like a small tutorial, because that is really not that difficult to set up, let me know in the comments. This is what I've got so far, which is not that much, and I really have to dive into Pinterest when I have the time to, next week hopefully. And then also finish my outline to then start writing. So, and then I have some last tips to make you even more excited to start writing than you probably are already, is make a playlist that fits the mood. You can also use that then if you're writing and maybe it sparks some new inspiration for your stories, for your scenes, and you really know how to illustrate the scenes. Then you can also just dive into Pinterest. I love Pinterest. I really adore it because you then can set yourself into the scene, and I think especially if you're writing fantasy, this can be pretty helpful because as someone who writes about somehow everyday life, you can just look out of the window and the word resembles the world also in your book most of the times. But if you're writing fantasy and if you're writing about like a different world, then it is pretty hard, or a different time age, to set yourself into this setting. And lastly, I think the most important thing of it all, have fun. Have fun with your writing and try to calm down or even kick out your critical editor voice in your head. You can do that all later, as Fabie said. Write first, ask questions later. And I hope we will have an amazing time in our November and we will reach the 50,000 mark, or whatever challenge you're setting yourself if you're participating in a NaNoWriMo. So see you next time. Bye.